Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jerrel. Today I want to talk about the appeal and basically the magic of branched evolutions when it comes to monster raising, monster battling games. Specifically, I want to talk about Digimon. We'll look a little bit at Pokemon and their branched evolutions and sort of compare them and see how these franchises handle them differently. But really, I basically just want to talk about something I really like. And I think you guys are into this aspect of these franchises as well. So I grew up with Digimon, and I was absolutely on the playground with my friends. And then during break, we would battle as much as we could. And then sometimes someone's Digimon would die during recess. It would be a bummer because then it meant there's one less person involved with tournaments and things like that. So in this video, I'm going to include some gameplay video from an upcoming Digimon game that launches in October, and that is Digimon Story Time Stranger. One of my viewers told me about this and asked me to cover the topic, and I was so impressed. This game looks insane. So I'm going to include a little bit of footage just while we're talking here today during the video. And if you want to see me analyze some of that game, I'll put a link in the description, and also I'll put the video at the end of this one here. So basically, I I'm a massive fan. I think monster raising games probably in my top three favorite genres: monster raising, monster battling games. So I obviously just I was when I was younger. I don't want to make it seem like I'm obsessed these days, but I kind of am. But when I was younger, I was absolutely obsessed with monster raising things. Any game that had it, Pokemon, Digimon, Monster Rancher, anything that had it, anything with monsters, I just want to raise them and make them fight each other. And so I grew up with all that stuff, and I I've been trying to make games since I was a kid. I always knew when I was young, this is what I want to do for a living. I have to make games for a living. And when I was a teenager, it was the summer of 2003, I started making my own monster raising game and monster battling game, and I actually did complete that, and then I actually put it on CDs and sold it at school. So that was my actual first game when I was a kid, um, called Monster Pickle. I could probably, if you guys are interested in that, I could dig that up and probably find a way to make it playable, so you can try it if you're interested. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, just putting my cards on the table here, letting you know this is something I'm obsessed with, and it's not something that I talk about that much because I don't want to make it seem like I'm I'm crazy and fanatical. But here we are. I am crazy and fanatical when it comes to monster raising and monster battling stuff. So I wanted to talk about Digimon stuff for a while on this channel, but I always thought I should buy some Digimon virtual pets before I talk about that. But every time I go to look at the prices, I live in Australia. Every time I look at the prices, I see prices like this and I go, oh, $300, 200, 250. Even the lower price ones, sometimes you see some at 100, and I think I don't, ooh, those prices don't feel nice to me, so I don't buy them. Um, I grew up in California, and I had a bunch of Digimon, but I've left that life behind. I don't know where all my stuff from a kid, they're in boxes. I don't know. They've disappeared, I think. So they're gone. I have no idea where my childhood Digimon virtual pets are. I'd like to get back into it, but not at these prices. I'm not feeling it. So basically, the appeal and the magic of branched evolutions is that it is your responsibility to take care of this creature, and it is the end result of your actions. How well you take care of this creature affects the end outcome. If you take good care of this creature, it will turn into a better creature. If you take bad care of it, it turns into a weak, bad creature. So let's go ahead and look. I've always wanted Betamon. This guy's so cool. Look at him. He's green. He's got the orange mohawk. And I always tried to get him. Sometimes I would accidentally take too good of care, and then I would get Agumon. And it's like, obviously, I don't have a problem with Agumon, but this guy, look at him. He's so cool. I was always trying to get him. So obviously, if you get Agumon, it looks like, there are branches here, and you can only get, Greymon and whatnot. And you can see that if you take bad care of these fellows, you end up getting Numamon. This guy sort of, ugh, he sucks and he shoots poop out of his mouth, but I always tried to get him because because he shoots poop out of his mouth. So that's why um, Kid Me was always trying to get the monster that shoots poop out of his mouth, which I think is very funny. And they branched out the way that you took care of these. They could turn into more than one guy. There wasn't just one set path that they turn into. They could turn into a bunch of different stuff. So I want to discuss the appeal of that on two different aspects. And that is the first time going in, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know anything about these branched evolutions. And so the first few times you play and you're not looking into it, you're not looking into strategy guides, it it feels like they could turn into any number of cool creatures. And so there's a reward to keep playing because you could potentially just keep getting more and more different creatures. That's the appeal of it. That's the exciting part. After that, when you get into the metagame of it, and if you use strategy guides and when you are trying to achieve a certain outcome, then there is a different appeal and there is a different challenge. And now you are following a specific strategy and you are trying to obtain a certain outcome. And that has its own appeal. That's also fun and exciting. And with these virtual pets, it's a challenge because you have to pay attention to these things. You have to be attentive when they beep and ask for your attention. When you are a kid, your challenge is school. You can't play with these things during school or the teacher will take them away. When you are an adult, you have different challenges. You probably have a marriage where your wife doesn't want you giving all your attention to a virtual pet. You have kids that actually need your attention, or they will end up really jacked up and messed up. And the repercussions for taking bad care of your human child is way more serious than taking care of a virtual pet. You can reset a virtual pet. If you try to reset a human child, it gets problematic. So you have a job, you have to file your taxes, you have to restore your dad's 57 Chevy, and you can't just abandon these things. That it's so exciting feeling like there could be more. And then after a while, you eventually find the limit of okay, these are all the creatures. And then they launch a new one. And the process starts all over again. Once it starts to feel stale, you discover, oh, there's a new series. What creatures are in this one now? And then the process starts all over again. And so this has been the appeal with Digimon, is a new series is rolled out, and then there are always new creatures to try to obtain. And it's cool, it's fun. With Pokemon, they handle this topic quite differently. And it's much more limited, and it's not, there are some situations where there's a degree of care, but for the most part, it's you use an item. Use an item, and you get very limited branched evolutions. And of course, the main example we can look at for having many different outcomes is Eevee. Eevee can turn into a bunch of different forms and evolutions. So, we have Oddish can turn to Vileplume or Bellossom. And in general, you see the stat comparison. It's generally a trade-off between special attack, physical, what have you. We have forms that are specific to regions. You have regional variants, but that doesn't really count as a branched evolution. That relies on the creature being in a different region. Well, it's tough to it's tough to qualify that because it's more out of your control. It's not about I took good care or bad care of this creature. It's you happen to be in a different place and it turns into something else. So that's a slippery slope, and that I hadn't actually thought about that. So I'd like to hear from you in the comments whether you think this qualifies as a branched evolution or it doesn't, because it's not really up to you. You don't really have input. It just comes down to whether this creature is from a certain region. And here we have, Sizord is, using different items and turn into two different dudes. Then we have the Eevees here, and this is, wow, this gets all kinds of stuff here. It gets a little simplified as the series goes on. They try to simplify it, but Eevee can turn into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But where is the ground type Eevee? Where is the bug type Eevee? Where's the dragon type Eevee? Come on, Game Freak. you can't leave it up to the fans to handle this. Anyway, we have Tyrogue can turn into Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, or somebody. I don't know who this is based on, but he's a pretty odd fellow. And then you have things that are, I'm gonna be honest, this is so dull. I had forgotten this is a branched evolution. I had totally and utterly forgotten Wormpole can branch into Beautifly or Dustox because this is such a boring Pokemon. I'm sorry for all you Dustox fans out there. There's a Fallout Boy song where one of the lyrics is, I'm mishearing it. I mishear Fallout Boy lyrics more than any other band, and I thought there was a song where there's a line, I thought he says sometimes a Dustox is gold. Was he talking about a shiny Dustox? I don't know, that's just a tangent. We have Ralts here. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot Ralts. I forgot that this is a branched evolution. See, it doesn't feel natural to me. These kinds of branched evolutions feel like they're just kind of shoved in there. They don't feel organic and natural. One time I caught a shiny Nincada in Pokemon Sapphire, an actual cartridge, and you do get both a shiny Ninjask and a shiny Shedinja, so that's pretty cool. I had forgotten Snorunt branches into Glalie. Like, this is eye-opening how many I'd forgotten because they seem so unnatural and inorganic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's Burn. I mean, okay. And then, so it's, oh, here's a good, okay, you know what? Rockruff is a good example. I do like the different forms for Rockruff. I do like that. That one's pretty cool. Then we have Toxel, turns into Toxtricity. Boy, I'm tongue-tied today. I think I haven't had enough coffee. So this does not count. No, 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 no. A family of 4 versus a family of 3, that does not count. No, no. And you have the regional variants. Okay, so it's so nebulous, and there isn't a consistent language when it comes to Pokemon for the branch evolution. So I actually don't think about it that much when it comes to Pokemon because there isn't a consistent language for it. And I feel that this is something that Digimon relies on for its appeal more so than Pokemon. For Pokemon, I don't really care about the branched evolutions. That's not part of the appeal for me. But for Digimon, absolutely. It's part of the core DNA of why I enjoy this franchise. Here's a color version. We'll just zoom in on this bad boy. And there we go, So it's a real bummer that they launched, they're harder to get in Australia, they're more exclusive, and it's tough. Here's the thing with Digimon, I want to see Digimon have a resurgence and come back. They really need to appeal to the younger generation, and it's tough to do that when your devices are multiple $100s. I feel Bandai Namco needs to make virtual pets appealing and make them very affordable, widely available, so that kids can just pick them up. Parents can just grab them off the shelf and say, here you go, Sonny, here's a Digimon. Paying $20-$30 is reasonable. Come on. 255? Anyway, that's the appeal of branched evolutions. That's what I wanted to discuss today. I really want to get back into this, but man, I'm not going to pay that money. Okay, I'm going to put some funny videos on screen, and then I was recently talking about Digimon as well, the upcoming game. If you'd like to see that, I'll put that on screen. So thanks very much for watching the video and spending some time with me today. Take care, everyone. Let me know in the comments if you want me to dig up my old game that I made when I was a kid. It's a monster raising game. I don't know. I actually have been working on more monster raising games coming up. I'm not ready to exactly talk about that yet, but I'm trying to work on a framework that I can use for DS and PSP. I do homebrew development alongside my commercial games because I just love making stuff for old consoles. It's fun, and it gives me a chance to experiment in terms of creativity. It helps me push myself and improve as a developer, as a programmer. So I do have monster raising, monster battling games coming up. I have one called Goo Buddies, where the theme is all the monsters are different forms of goo, slime monsters, and I'd like to talk about that more, but it's a consistent language, so there's all kinds of different forms. I'm trying to do all the 3D modeling for that, and it's fun. It's going to be fun. I guess you'll get to see how much I I am obsessed about monster raising and battling games. I'm finally letting that come out in terms of new games. All right, take care of yourselves, everyone. Be well.